there's this moment, and you've probably had it yourself, where you're standing at the kitchen window, coffee in hand, and a bird lands on your feeder. It just lands, quietly, like it was always meant to be there. Maybe it's a chickadee, or something with the bright red crest that catches the morning light. And for a second, your whole day just pauses. Everything kind of resets around this small, calm, ordinary thing. You're the one who put that feeder up, right? You picked the hook, the height, the specific seed blend. You've been out there refilling it in the rain, in the freezing cold, before you've even had your coffee. And the birds come. They always do. There's something really satisfying about that, something ancient and uncomplicated about feeding a wild creature that actually trusts you enough to visit. But here's the thing that nobody tells you when you're hanging it up. The birds aren't the only ones watching. Something else noticed. Something that doesn't care about seeds. It watched your pattern the same birds at the same time in the exact same spot, and it started doing its own math. See, you thought you were building a sanctuary, but you were actually setting up a hunting ground, and the most unsettling part? It's the feeder's position, that exact spot you picked with the best of intentions, that makes it work for them. Most people who love backyard birding have never really thought about the geometry of their feeder. They think about height, sure. Maybe they're trying to outsmart the squirrels, or wondering if the birds look happy or if the suet needs a swap. But they don't think about sight lines. They don't think about the acoustic shadow created by that fence panel right behind the feeder, that dead zone where sound just dies. It's where a bird's natural warning system goes quiet, and where a predator can close those last 10 feet in total silence. They don't think about the landing branch, that one perfect branch at that perfect angle that a Cooper's hawk has been using as a launch pad since the second week you put the feeder up. And they definitely don't think about what they're actually teaching the local predator population every single day. Because that's actually what's happening. I'm not using a metaphor here, and I'm not just trying to be dramatic. Literally, measurably, documentably, where you put that feeder has been running a behavior modification program, and the students, they graduate pretty fast. When birds show up at a predictable spot, at predictable times, in predictable numbers, they create what wildlife ecologists call a high-density prey aggregation. Basically, a living target zone. And predators, they learn. That's the part about animal intelligence we always seem to underestimate. We're okay with the idea that dogs learn or that crows are clever, but we don't fully get what it means when a red-tailed hawkabird with vision 8 times sharper than yours has been watching your feeder from the same oak tree for 11 mornings in a row. At that point, it isn't hunting anymore. It's harvesting. Here's where the idea shifts. This is where it starts to feel a little uncomfortable. You put that feeder up as an act of care. That matters. Your intention was good. And the birds do eat, and yeah, some of them are probably surviving the winter because of what you provided. But in the world of ecology, intention and outcome are two totally different things. Nature doesn't care about your intentions. It only responds to what you actually do, and by hanging a feeder in a spot with nowhere to hide, no overhead cover, and a perfect clean sightline for a predator, you basically send a message in the only language the ecosystem understands: here, concentrated. Predictable, unprotected. Birds know this on some level. The ones that have survived long enough to be cautious, they'll scan, they'll pause, they'll watch, sometimes for minutes before they even commit to the feeder. That hesitation isn't just random, it's a trauma. They've watched other birds disappear from spots just like yours. But here's the deeper layer, and this is the part that really changes how you look at the whole picture. It isn't just raptors. Domestic cats, and there are, 30 to 80 million feral ones in the US alone. They learn feeding schedules with a kind of precision that actually surprised researchers. Studies tracking these cats in the suburbs found they'll actually shift their entire daily range just to make sure they're near your bird feeders during peak hours. They don't even need to see the feeder. They pick up on the seed debris, or they hear the birds chirping. They learn the routine. And that routine? That's the problem. If your feeder is busy between 7 and 9 a.m., and then again from 4 to 6 p.m., you've basically just published a dining schedule. Not just for the birds, but for everything that wants to eat them. The placement is usually where most of the damage happens. Think about where yours is right now. It's probably in the spot that looks nice from the kitchen window, right? Or maybe near the patio so you can get a good view. Maybe it's on a shepherd's hook tucked into a garden bed. Maybe 5 feet from a wooden fence. because that's where the hook fits and you don't want seeds all over the walkway. That fence is the first red flag. A solid wall behind a feeder, it wipes out one entire arc of safety for any bird landing there. Birds don't just use their eyes to look forward, they rely on their peripheral vision, constantly rotating their heads to see almost 300 degrees around them. A fence kills that system. It creates a visual wall that a predator can use to sneak up, staying low and slow until they're close enough that the distance just doesn't matter anymore. Take Cooper's hawk, they're basically the experts at urban hunting in North America. They don't chase things down for miles. They hunt through ambush and speed. They need cover to hide, and then they explode out of it, which means they're perfectly set up to take advantage of the exact setup most people build in their backyards. Researchers at Cornell have seen a real spike in Cooper's hawk populations in the suburbs over the last 30 years, and the leading theory isn't that they've suddenly adapted to the climate or anything like that, it's the feeders. That dense, predictable supply of prey put there by people just trying to be kind has basically fueled the recovery and expansion of a powerful predator right in our own neighborhoods. Your feeder might have helped a species recover, just not the one you thought you were helping. The 5-foot rule is a big deal here. If your feeder is within 5 feet of a fence or a bush, it's sitting right in the strike zone. The bird doesn't have enough time to realize what's happening and escape before the predator makes contact. But get it 10 feet away from that cover? The odds shift. You're giving the birds an extra 1.3 seconds to react. That might not sound like much, but 1.3 seconds is the difference between flying away and a pile of feathers on the ground. You've seen that pile, right? Most people who own feeders have. And you probably thought it was just bad luck. It wasn't luck. It was geometry. But let's step back further than just 1 yard. Because this isn't just happening at your house. In neighborhoods where everyone has a feeder, which is pretty much everywhere, the result is something ecologists call an ecological trap. It's a place that looks like a great spot to live because there's plenty of food, but it's actually a dangerous place to be. The birds come because the food signals are real. But the predator pressure and the way our fences and gardens are laid out is more than they're evolved to handle. They evolved in forests where cover was everywhere and sightlines were clear. They didn't evolve to navigate a 6x8 deck, a shepherd's hook, and a vinyl fence, and the stress is showing. The scientists have measured corticosteroid, that's the avian stress hormone in birds visiting these feeders. They found it's constantly high. It's not just a quick spike from being hunted. It's this low-grade, constant exhaustion of an animal that knows on some level that it's always just a little too visible. That kind of stress suppresses their immune system. It makes it harder for them to have healthy offspring. It shortens their lives. The birds keep coming back because the food is there. But they're paying a price they didn't sign up for. You didn't mean for that to happen. But the feeder? It doesn't know what you meant. Here is the thing that really gets me, the thing that once you see it, you can't unsee. Your feeder has been training the predators in your neighborhood. It's not a one-time thing. Every season it's been hanging there, it's been running a training program. The predators in your local ecosystem are better hunters now because of it. They're more confident, they're more targeted. They're way more willing to get close to a house because they've learned that the reward is worth the risk. That Cooper's hawk is less afraid of your back door than it used to be. That cat is crossing your property line with the purpose it learned right there in your yard. The boundaries the wildlife usually keep around humans, those lines are slowly dissolving, and the birds left, the ones still coming to your feeder, they're the ones who are the most stressed, the most on edge, the most tired. The easygoing ones left a long time ago. You didn't build a sanctuary, you actually ran a selection process. And what you've been selecting for over months and years of putting out that food is a local bird population under constant chronic pressure. But you've also created a predator population that's sharper, bolder, and way more efficient than it was before you even started. It's an interspecies trap. And the crazy part, you built it with the best intentions. Just a quiet, kind act on a Sunday morning in your own backyard. Now, I'm not saying you should stop feeding them. You just need to get smart about what you're doing. Try moving that feeder at least 10 feet away from any solid structures. Give them some native shrubs, get the dense, branchy stuff, and plant them just a few feet away from the feeder. It gives the birds a place to land and scope things out before they commit, and a clear path to retreat if things go south. Change your schedule every now and then. Vary the height. Just break the pattern. Because here's the thing, the trap isn't the feeder, it's the predictability. A feeder placed thoughtfully with enough cover, clear sight lines, and some randomness starts to work more like a natural food source. It provides what they need without creating a target. It feeds them without focusing all the danger in one spot. Really, the difference between a death trap and a true refuge comes down to where you put the thing. Go back to that window for a second. Picture that chickadee landing in the morning light. It's still there. That moment is still just as real, but now, you know what else is watching it. You know about the hawk up in the oak tree, the pattern it's memorized, and the geometry of the space you created. You know about the stress hormones spiking in that tiny, bright body. You know that pile of feathers you found last spring? It wasn't just random bad luck. And the strange thing is, knowing all of this doesn't make the bird less beautiful. It makes it more beautiful, because now you actually understand what it costs a wild thing just to show up in your yard, what it risks, what it has to navigate. The fact that it keeps coming back despite all that danger, it says something about how strong that hunger is and just how stubborn life really is. You have the power to make that choice a little safer for them. And honestly, that's not a small thing at all.